Is this the time to finally buy DraftKings? Well, first off, read this disclaimer carefully. And do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. So I have a theme that I call brainy wagers. So these are not like your classical gambling stocks where everything is random. These companies, they are gambling-ish, but you need to use your brain here. And when it comes to DraftKings and fantasy sports, the more you know about, teams, players, stuff like that, the better your odds will be. So yes, it really actually works using your brain here. So we are 29% away from the 52-week low, but we are still minus 80% away from the highs. Here is their website. It's a decent website. The logo here is very small here to the left, but yeah, they do certainly try to get you to sign up very quickly, and that is smart. But there are some odd design choices here with the website. But overall, it actually is good news that there's something that they could improve though. But yeah, fantasy sports, NASCAR, tennis, esports, even very broad portfolio here. So yeah, let's jump into the charts. So these are very long-term picture charts weekly data points, and we do have the potentiality of forming here an absolutely monstrous double bottom. So that is potential future development that would be very much bullish. What I found very interesting when I was measuring how long this bull rally was, so it was around 6,000-ish days. Then I measured, from the high here to the recent low, and it's very similar. So we currently have a sell-off here of 6,100-ish days. So there is a certain kind of mirroring effect going on here. And it's not simply just that, let me just draw it in a bit. So you see that, this move here was very much mirrored here to over here. Well, it should actually include this one, because this one here, it's a bit of a mirror of this. Further, I think you can also see here that this here is mirrored over here. So there's something interesting when it comes to mirroring. And this mirror effect is something that we see across, financial markets. It could, just be some psychological self-reinforcing thing, but it could also be reflective of a more deeper, hidden mathematical relationship between market sentiment and the share price. Okay, so going here to the daily data points. So this is just some error in the data. But when we go here to the 2-hour chart, then that completely disappears. So that's just quite ridiculous. But yeah, this is something, well, investing.com is good-ish, but it really is terrible at basically, whenever there is some event in the market, whether it's dividends, earnings, stock splits, you name it, that is when investing.com completely just chokes for a couple of days. It just is unable to calculate. But anyway, here when we go to the hourly chart, you can see that we clearly have a downtrend. So yes, the peers have been ferocious, but looking here, big picture at the chart, you could make a strong case that we have, this potential double bottom, super double bottom is double bottom short seller nightmare. If I was still short this stock, I would not be that happy to see this setup. I would be looking for other opportunities. So I do think this is interesting. It is not by any stretch of the imagination a screaming buy. We have seen a lot of bullish setups fail completely because they do not get enough support from the bulls. And it's the same thing here with DraftKings. We have a technical setup that could become rather bullish. We have certainly seen that the bulls can ferociously buy these stocks when this stock when they want to. From March 2020 leading up here to March 2021, the bulls were buying DraftKings hand over fist. Yeah, and I don't think that all of those participants were completely wrong. Let's look here at the daily data points, and yeah, it's completely just, I mean, investing.com, I have such a love-hate relationship with it. I do prefer to show free sources on these channels because that makes it way easier for you. To open the charts, the same chart, and have a look yourself. But yeah, as I think that the key event here is that we have double bottom, but it certainly is a question mark. In terms of the long-term radar, I would say mirror effect. I don't really know what else to call it. It is related to time cycles, but given that we only have like one time cycle, yeah, it's a bit too early to call this a time cycle. But yeah, it's this mirror effect and the double bottom that is very appealing, tantalizing. So I will give the technicals here, I will give them a 3. So in terms of the seasonality, given that this stock is a recent participant in the public market, we don't have that much data. So we don't get anything from the seasonality forecaster to the left here over the last 4 years. We do see that May usually on average posts a very good gain, but we have very little data. June is a 50-50 month. So basically, I don't really want to jump to conclusions there when it comes to seasonality. So I think in this case, I will actually give the seasonality here just a 0. We just do not have enough data. Here is Saks.com, and they have a number 3 hold. They have an F value score, degrowth, CM momentum, industry rank bottom 15%, gaming. But in this case, gaming means more like, gambling. Gaming is basically a euphemism for gambling. Okay, so market cap is actually 10 billions. So this is still a rather large company. So the annoying thing about DraftKings in terms of being bullish now is that we did have a big move on Friday, approaching 11%. So I prefer buying, bullish positions. Well, bullish thesis. I like to enter at some support level or after a bit of a pullback because the risk reward is better. In these kinds of instances where there has been a bit of a fierce move, what I prefer to do is to so let's say that on average I put like $1,000 to work on a specific trade. If there has been a big move, in order to sort of adjust my stop level to something that's reasonable, I will then put far less to work. So let's say that I then put $200 to work instead. And then because I just put $200 to work, I might accept a 20% stop level. I would never accept a 20% stop level for $1,000 entry position. But when you put a lower dollar amount to work, then you can adjust the stop level. So that is what I do with any kind of position where I do expect larger moves. And the DraftKings is 11% on the day. It kind of fits those criteria. Okay, so in terms of the insider activity, interesting: buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, sell, buy, buy, sell, buy, buy. But then you do have a bunch of selling here, so it's a bit mixed, but the most recent moves have been more balanced. Interesting. So let's take DKNG like that, DraftKings, and get the consensus estimates like that. Yeah, so you do have 28 analysts covering the stock. The average price target is 127% above, highest is 376% above, and the biggest pessimists think that there's 3% upside. So this is definitively bullish. So it's a bit mixed here. Sachs was not really feeling the love on the style scores. The insiders are a bit mixed, but the price targets are very much bullish. So I think I will give the fundamentals here a 4. Here we have long-term correlations, and we get nothing. But when we go here to the daily data points, and now here when you look at the chart here with daily data points, we don't get that messy stuff we got in the other chart. Yes. Okay, anyway. 46% positive with the S&P 500. Then we have 49% negative with the XLI, which is the consumer discretionary ETF. And then 94% here with the BJK, which is the gambling ETF. And then you have minus 79% here with the dollar index. So yeah, BJK. So let's look at what is happening with BJK. So here is the Van Neck Gaming ETF, another use of the euphemism. Okay. So you can see that RSI weekly data points is at support, except that we did see during the 2020 panic in the market, we did go much lower. Also here on the PPOs, we have been much lower in the past, but looking back here to 2018, the current RSI and PPOs formed very nice lows and a good entry opportunity for bullish trades. You can also make the case that we potentially have something a bit double bottom-ish here. Still unconfirmed. Whether this is a double bottom or not is something that we will know for sure in 2023. But at that point, we sort of miss the potential move, and that's just the thing about the market. If you are going to participate, you must accept some level of uncertainty because you are betting on the future. It's of course very easy to just be a market commentator and just look at the chart and be like, oh, we have an uptrend, oh, here's a downtrend, oh, and stuff like that. But it's something very different when you actually start to think to yourself and ask the question, what do I think is most likely going to happen going forward? That's the thing. That's the question you should focus on. Yeah, so here we have the daily data points, and I see a bit of a bounce here. The double bottom is in play. It's interesting. Also on the daily RSI, we are bouncing from a level that has triggered rallies during this downtrend. And so here as an example, the same RSI level, you could go long and be profitable. Here, same RSI level, we did get the bounce in the downtrend. Making money going bullish in an uptrend, that is not something to brag about, but if you are actually able to like profitably trade like a sell-off, that's very good. And bear in mind, when you see this chart, you don't know what's going to happen next. And at the time, it looked interesting. Okay. So here's the relationship between DraftKings and the gambling ETF. In terms of this whole double bottom discussion, we don't really have a double bottom here, though. So let's go here to the daily data points. Yeah, it's pretty clear that we have a downtrend here in this relationship. So do we get any seasonality now? We don't get any seasonality data. Okay, so then let's look at BJK versus the S&P 500. Yeah, we have had a downtrend, so the gambling ETF has been underperforming the S&P 500. Yeah, I mean it's just lower highs and lower lows. Yeah, the very definition of a downtrend. Let's look a bit here at well, we might as well just yeah, let's just go for the seasonality. So the gaming ETF over the last 10 years, it's a bit flattish, but over the last 10, 7, and 5 years, the gaming ETF usually underperforms the S&P 500 leading into early July. Of all the things we looked at, I think the most important thing was what happens with the BJK ETF, because the correlation was very strong, so it's going to affect DraftKings. Given that we have something double bottomish there, I think I actually would give this one a bit mildly to the bulls. It's interesting. So we end up with a score here for DraftKings of 2.3. The key line in the sand is double bottom. That was, the recurring theme here. Yeah, multiple double bottoms. If we do not get enough bulls buying this opportunity, then I can guarantee you that the double bottom will fail and fail miserably. That's the key part of any kind of critical level, whether it's a critical bullish level or a critical bearish level. You have two teams in the market, and the bears are going to go absolutely ballistic if they see that even this epic double bottom is not bought. That's when the bears are going to think like, oh, maybe I can short DraftKings into bankruptcy. You get those kinds of narratives. And that's, when things really get, wild in the bear camp. So yeah, it's super important for the bulls to act now, because this has been a very protracted downtrend for DraftKings, and it's one of the best opportunities they have had in a long while to form a low. So now it's sink or swim for the bulls.